Good morning. Happy Sunday morning. Welcome to Spectacular Magazine Radio Show, enlightening, empowering, and entertaining. I'm your host, Phyllis Coley, CEO and editor of Spectacular Magazine. Spectacular Magazine Radio Show on Foxy is your community-focused resource, shining a light on community issues that impact our neighborhoods. Please visit our website, spectacularmag.com. Follow us on all social media. I want to invite you to join us on Friday, March the 9th from 8 to 10 p.m. for the Spectacular Magazine Business After Hours at the Millennium Hotel. Now, it's going to be great networking. We got live jazz with saxophonist Tony Chambers. Have you heard him? He is wonderful. There'll be a cash bar. There's door prizes, free admission, and free parking. And if y'all know anything, this is it at the Millennium Hotel in Durham. So free parking, that's truly like an amenity at this point, because when you can go and not have to park, but you don't have to pay to come in. Everything is there. Please come and hang out with me on next Friday night. That's March the 9th. And speaking of March is also Women's History Month. Now, this month's Spectacular Magazine Radio Show is going to shine a spotlight on African American-owned nonprofits making a difference in our community. Undoubtedly and unfortunately, most of us have been affected by cancer personally in one way or another. The biggest thing most people think about is always, about the treatment and the expenses associated with that, getting that treatment. And I don't know that we think about the expense of getting to the treatment, the cost of gas to get there. But thankfully, a member of our community did think about it. And we'll talk to her a little later in the show. According to the American Heart Association, heart disease is the #1 killer of all Americans, and stroke is also a leading cause of death. As frightening as those statistics are, the risks are even higher for African Americans and other racial and ethnic minorities. Having knowledge of this issue is only the first step, but taking action to help others is probably the most important step. Christ Save Hearts Foundation, Inc. is a recognized 501c3 nonprofit organization that was founded in 2015 to create awareness for heart disease and spread the love of our loving Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Joining me now is a true woman of God, a real trailblazer, the founder and chairman of the board of Christ Saves Hearts Foundation, Koren Underdue Bowman. Koren, welcome to Spectacular Magazine Radio Show.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here.
Listen, let's go. Tell me, what led you to establish Christ Saves Hearts Foundation?
Ooh, what led me? Life.
Really?
Yes. So many of us have been impacted by heart disease. Would you agree?
That's correct. That's so true.
Yes. Well, it hit home with me. So 4 years ago, as of February 2014, I actually lost my late husband due to a sudden heart attack.
How old was he?
He was 35.
Wow.
Yes. But young.
Yeah.
Very young.
Yes. And so what, so from there, what, so was this, and this was sudden, obviously.
Very sudden.
Yeah.
We go through life as like everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, everything was great. The night before, we were great. We had a great conversation. We went to church. We went to an event. So everything was going great.
Mm-hmm.
And I just woke up that Thursday morning to my life changing forever.
Oh, my God. And you have children?
Yes.
Were your children around when that happened?
Unfortunately, they were. At the time, my children were 4 and 6, and he passed away right next to him. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. And so I know that was hard to even explain, how this happened and why did this happen.
Ooh, yes.
And if God loves us, why does this happen?
Yes. When we experience loss, we really never know what that feeling's going to be until we're there. But when it's loss of someone that is in your household, is someone that you imagine growing up with. From the perspective of a wife, we always imagine growing old, but then also from the children, to the memories of I'm always going to have my dad who's going to walk me down the aisle.
Correct, yes.
My son, I'm going to have my dad to teach me how to play football and basketball. And so you're expecting these memories to transpire, and then it's like, wait, it just, what happened?
What year was this?
2014.
And so then the very next year you started Christ Saves Lives.
Christ Saves Hearts.
Yes. Yes. And so tell me about that process of starting the organization, and what's the mission?
Awesome. So basically, it started really at our dining room table. My kids had asked me, well, Mommy, why didn't God save Daddy? And I said, wait a minute. We're believers, and we talk about the greatness of God, and I did not want that to get lost in transition. I said, let me explain something to you. God saves hearts here on earth and in heaven.
Okay.
And where Daddy is at, he's in a special place that we one day want to be at. And with that being stated, it became a moment where I had to realize that my kids had questions, and I really didn't have the answers, and I had questions myself. And so I started doing the research. And with this research became a movement for our family, me and my kids. And with this movement, we were just wanted to get more understanding, more clarity on heart disease, how this happened, and what are some steps that we could have possibly done differently to prevent this. And so with that, I've uncovered and revealed so much information that if I knew I had that.
So with that, so was that sudden cardiac arrest? Is that what he experienced?
Sudden cardiac arrest, and then we did discover that he had an enlarged heart.
Okay, so now you have a task force. You've established a task force for around sudden cardiac arrest.
Correct.
Yes, talk about
so
that.
What I discovered, enlarged heart is very common in young African American males and student athletes. And so in our nonprofit, we focus on two things.
Okay.
The first one is scholarship. With the scholarship, we provide scholarship to minority high school students who've been impacted with heart disease directly and indirectly.
Okay.
And then the second one is actually the task force for student athletics, where we're looking to do a sudden cardiac prevention act. And with that, we have a task force that we are starting with Senator McKenzie, and we already have a bill that's been passed by Senate, and we're looking to push that with the House.
With the House, and that would be great. And what would that bill do? I mean, does that act do? Does that make it so high schools will be required to have information about this sudden cardiac arrest?
Right now, the act is to supply a task force so we can actually get the studies in place so we know exactly how to go about it, because there's a lot of policy that's involved. The first vision that I have for it is to advocate and to making sure that the students and the parents are aware of what if they were to go into sudden cardiac arrest prevention. If they were to go into sudden cardiac arrest, what should they do? And then two, what things they can do to potentially prevent that, or even find out that they are having some type of issues.
And so you're having a fundraiser to raise money to bring this awareness about. The fundraiser is when?
It's March 24th.
Where?
At Renaissance Hotel in North Hills.
How can you get a ticket?
You can get a ticket by going to ChristSavesHearts.org.
And if people want more information, they can get information at that website as well.
Yes.
Is there a phone number?
Yes, you can reach us at 919-281-3215.
Okay. And so let me just real quick, how many high school athletes, I don't know if you have exact numbers, but it's been a lot of high school athletes that we've lost to sudden cardiac arrest.
Yes. So far as my knowledge of what I've been able to pull, I know there's at least 14 cases in the last 14 years in the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
And
wow. And that's high school students. Koren Underdue Bowman, Christ Saves Hearts Foundation, Inc. thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do, because it's making a difference in young people's lives. It's making a difference in our lives across the board because of heart disease. It really does disproportionately affect African Americans. When we come back, we're going to talk about providing transportation for cancer patients. I'm Phyllis Coley. You're on Spectacular Magazine radio show on Foxy. We got it all in.
I got tongue tied. I'm like,
It's okay. We got it all in.
Come get this picture. Or you guys scoot over a little bit. There you go. There you go. 3, 2. All right. Cool, Carolina. We're good.
Okay. Thank you, darling. Okay. Would you let her out? Thank you.
Awesome.
Now, of course, you're welcome to stay, but I know
Okay.
it's welcome to stay.
Because somebody vote. Thank you. It looked like y'all were having a good time in here.
Yes, we do. Thank you. 1 minute or 2 minutes? Thank you. Because I thought about it. I thought about what you said, and I was like, wait a minute. That's a kind of okay, right? You know, I'm saying okay, and then yeah. So we're going to start out just that. We're going to talk about how you got established, why you got established, your first donations, how many cards you've given, and you know, and then we'll talk a little, and then we're going to go into your small apprentice, your small pearls.
Small pearls.
Yes. You know, I was trying to take notes when you were saying what the acronym for pearls was for. You know, I'm thinking about pledging the next time they have a line, right? So I was like, okay, because see, my biggest concern, this is what I keep telling Juanita, my biggest concern is I can't learn this stuff.
Yes, you can.
No, can't.
We'll help
I'm really concerned.
help you.
That's my biggest concern. That scares me.
Don't be scared.
I do. Because see, there's only 2 of the girls in my whole family that are not Deltas. In my whole family.
Change that, guys.
And my other cousin just had knee replacement stuff. She was like, no, I ain't doing this.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I understand.
are we getting comments and stuff? Good, good. Thank you. Welcome back to your community-focused resource, Spectacular Magazine radio show on Foxy 107, 104. I'm your host, Phyllis Coley. Most of us, undoubtedly and unfortunately, have been affected by cancer personally in one way or another. The biggest thing most people think about always is the treatment and the expenses associated with the treatment. I don't know that we think about how we're going to get to that treatment or the expense of getting to that treatment, the cost of the gas to get there. But thankfully, a member of our community did think about that. That dynamic woman is joining me now, the founder and executive director of the Sisters Inspiring Sisters, Inc. Foundation, Terry Spicer. Terry, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Listen, tell me about the Sisters Inspiring Sisters, or Inc., or we known as Sissy. How did
Sissy?
how did you establish
Well, my
that?
best friend, who was my sorority sister in Delta, she had breast cancer, and God was so gracious to take me out of my job the last year of her life, and I was able to drive her with her mother Doris, to UNC Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center, and in doing that, I got to see the major disparities, because people would come in asking for assistance just to get to their doctor's appointments. Everybody didn't have a Terry to drive them. We'd get in the car, and it's so easy to just pick your keys up, go get in your car and go where you're going. but everybody doesn't have that luxury. And even when you do, the costs, according to what your regimen is, so exorbitant that it hits your pocket real hard. And the need is really truly there, but the resources very minimal.
And so you accepted, you took that on as your own personal challenge.
I told God he's got a funny sense of humor. He gave me that phenomenal experience with her. And then after Gwen transitioned, I knew I wanted to do something with cancer.
Yes.
And it's amazing. Valerie Worthy, she came around and confirmed what God had put in my heart, that this transportation piece is necessary. So we've moved forward. We started with 10.
What year was this?
This was in 2013. We did the 501c3 in 2012, but it came back in 2 months, and so February 2013 we started rolling.
That's unusual to happen in 2
2
months.
months unscathed, unchanged.
Yes. So what was your first donation? When did you give your first gas cards?
In August of 2013, we did 10 $25 gas cards. It was, and I used to say, oh, it's just a $25 gas card, but God had to convict me out of that thing, because the very first recipient came into the Pretty in Pink Foundation where we did our first gifts, and she said, I came here on fumes, did not know how I was going to get to my appointment tomorrow. So God sent confirmation in the very first gift.
How many have you given to date?
1,048. We're in all 100 counties of North Carolina, in 15 states, and also in Washington, D.C. So we're going to do another gift of 40 to Duke in just a couple of days.
Okay, I'm sorry. And you said, have you given, so it's not just in the Triangle?
No. We are, national. We are a national movement now,
Okay.
I've been told.
Okay.
But no, we, our tag is transportation across the colors of cancer. So people come from around the world. And our process is very simple. We gift the cards like to UNC, like to Pretty in Pink. Their reach becomes our reach. I'm the janitor, the secretary, the CEO. So we gift the cards to these organizations, and they're required to give us a geographical scope of where the cancer patients come from to get their treatment.
Okay.
So they vet them, because I'm just a party of one. So their reach again becomes ours.
But then that gives you documentation
Absolutely.
of where it's going, and that's really,
Indisputable. Absolutely.
But in addition to the cancer and providing transportation, you have another arm of Sissy.
Yeah, my Small Pearl, the Small Pearls Apprentice program, girls 7 to 17. We are in our 5th year, just like the Sissy, and we've got a leadership-driven curriculum. These girls are bright and smart from all walks of life, and we put incredible women just like yourselves and Koren, who come, to our meeting once a month. We met yesterday, and we talked about the power of what Women's History Month means, and I had them to write about what woman inspires you. Some said mom, some said Katherine Johnson of NASA, hidden figures.
Yes.
So these children are very, very bright and driven, and I'm excited to have this program.
And so what do you do in this program? I mean, what do you guys do?
We are preparing them. The acronym PEARLS is Preparing Elegant and Ready Leaders for Success. We are making them competitive by enhancing their gifts, so that when they graduate out, we've got 4 high school graduates with scholarships, so that these girls are ready to compete and stand and measure up against the best.
I had the honor, of being honored by
Yes, you're amazing yourself.
And
yes.
her Treasure Her Tea.
Yes.
Which I thought was always like the first weekend in March.
It's this weekend. I was having
Right.
withdrawals. I
Right,
was,
right.
But because we are 5 years in now, and God has given us sustainability and viability and all these wonderful buzzwords, we're in this season now of really, truly fundraising. And so I thought that in our 5th year, we would do a grand gala, so that we could raise substantive funds and try to bring in some staff members to help.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And when is that gala?
That's August 25th at the Raleigh Marriott downtown Raleigh. We're going to have Coach Sylvia Hatchell, who is UNC's women's coach. She's going to be our VIP. We will have Paulette Walker, who's the 25th National President of Delta. We will have Dr. Gwendolyn Boyd, who's the 22nd National President. And I've invited these women back because they've been here, to speak for the Sissy. So Antonio Knox, who's the Grand Boss of Omega Psi Phi, will be our honorary chair, and many others who are really, truly sewing into this vision and standing to lend their help and assistance.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to to your organization and and let's go back and talk about the gas cards. You know, when we talk about cancer, now with those cards and those are usually visas, can they also? But they can't use them for anything but
No,
gas?
just gas. You know, they're Exxon or Shell or BP or whatever. We don't do any cash. It's an absolute gas card. And to finish the process, once we give them to the facilities, they have to follow back up with the cancer patients to make certain that they indeed met their goal of going to their appointment. So we've got a wonderful full process. But no, they can't cash them out. They have to put them in their car, and that's the sole purpose.
You mentioned that you've been working as this has been a one woman, but I think that you have accomplished some awesome things.
Thank you.
To be able to do that. With your experience, tell me. I'm sure along the way, there have been a lot of other folk who have helped you.
Absolutely.
And I think one of those has probably been your husband.
Yes.
And I think we just want to mention the
Yes.
fact, because he has been by your side and really
Yes.
been throughout
You
this.
know, God is gracious, because in this platform we help the cancer patient, survivor, and caregiver. Well, you know, God allowed us to have an experience. My husband just finished up his treatment for cancer. We found out last July. So inside of our home now, we understand what it truly is like to be a cancer patient and a survivor and a caregiver up close and personal. This started when I was a caregiver, but, you know, our perspective has shifted, and God has put us in a new season, you know, forward. So my husband is absolutely phenomenal, but I've got Team Sissy, so many incredible people in the community who have just stepped up to love up on this organization.
If people want more information, now let me ask you, can they come to you and apply for a card themselves? Say I'm not involved with one of these organizations, but I still need some help.
Right. It's very rare, but yes, please do call the office, you know, because again, I would require documentation, you know, just as they would at the hospital. But yeah, and they can, you know, go online at www.thesisi.org. or contact us at the office 919-801-4842.
Okay, and the information about the gala.
Yes, it's all
There's
there.
information on how people can donate,
Yes,
and all of
yes.
those things are
all
there.
All of that is right there.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Listen, I have been visiting with Terry Spicer, who is the founder and executive director of Inspiring Sisters, Inc., or better known as SISI, which is providing transportation assistance across the color of cancer. And before that, I had Koren Underdue Bowman, who's the founder and chair of Christ Saves Hearts Foundation, and she will be having a fundraiser coming up on March 24th. Go there, because you guys know how the disparity, how heart disease affects our community. Listen, come out on March the 9th. You got to come out. Come to the Millennium Hotel from 8 o'clock to 10. We have Spectacular Magazine business after hours. It's free. It's free parking. It's a cash bar. Come early. So a few of us usually get there around 7 or so and have dinner. Come hang out. You know, I would love to see you. Love to talk about it. Okay? And I would love to. Please come out and hang out with us. This is Spectacular Magazine radio show on Foxy 107, 104. Until next time, I'll be back on March 18th with two more very, very inspiring women. Until next time, see ya.
You're listening to the Spectacular Magazine radio show on Foxy 107, 104.
Awesome. You better work, girl. You better